Hey ho everybody, welcome to Tech Art Live. This is the second installment of Tech Art EDU, and we are just going to keep on rolling with these and keep them coming out for as long as we can go. And but you can pretty much be sure that we're going to keep broadcasting at the same bat time on this same bat channel pretty much every week until something changes. I'm going to try to create a Facebook web page for this particular chat to kind of keep track of everything in order to help communicate the information offline to people. And as always, if you have any sort of requests or any kind of observations, or if I happen to have like a big old booger coming out of my nose, go ahead and text me in the chat. Hopefully I'll see it, and if not, then maybe you can email me. That's Chris at techartedu.com, and I'll know better next time and make sure that the snot is out of my mustache. Okay, very cool. Today I wanted to, when trying to figure out what to present to you folks, I was a little bit concerned because this week was not nearly so as progressive as last week was. And so I think, well, what can we do that's really going to bring a lot of value to the folks out there? Well, I know that a lot of folks out there who are watching this are experienced tech artists. But I also know there's a lot of folks out there who are just starting. And so what I want to try to do is try to start focusing on what I call are the mindset for being a awesome or a bistro tech artist. And so I'm going to devote this and the next lecture or two devoted to creating the golden mind for a tech artist. And so these are what the little bits of gold that I've found that help me become a better tech artist. And regretfully, while creating this list, I realized that most of what I learned from my mistakes, and I learned from doing things the wrong way. Now, occasionally there were situations where I learned from other people and I actually observed the good things they were doing as well as their bad, and they learned things, but I have to admit, a lot of times I've pretty much made all of these mistakes. So just know that I'm sharing these little tidbits of wisdom with you folks because I don't want you to make the same mistakes that I did, because hopefully you can go on and move and advance your careers and not have to deal with the pitfalls that are out there. And hopefully if we can avoid any of those pitfalls, that would be great. So let's get started along with this lecture and get things going along. So this is what's called the Tech Art Gold. All right. So here we are with the Tech Art Gold. These are the rules for creating and maintaining a golden tech art mind. All right. The first and foremost rule that I've got here is that this is the number one tech art rule, and it's actually 3 rules, but they're kind of related all in one. And a lot of you folks have seen this before, but this is the number one, the absolute most important rule for maintaining employment consistency. And the first is you got to be a GSD person. And what that means is you got to get stuff done. You can put whatever you want in for the S letter, but you gotta get stuff done. That means you gotta be the person that delivers exactly what you said you would within the time promised. If you don't do that, then people don't want to work with you. I worked at one company that every time I would work with one particular division, I would request them to do things, and the department didn't hold their employees accountable. And so after a certain time, I got to be a point where I just didn't want to work with that entire department before, because I certainly was responsible for delivering what they were supposed to be to get for me, but since they didn't get their stuff done when they were told, it put my job in jeopardy. So, not being a GSD person is first and foremost something it's something you got to be for sure. And the next with that is you got to be happy. Now, what that is you've got to have an overall positive demeanor in your overall work presence. And that doesn't mean that you have to be all cookies, brownies, and smelling of potpourri. What that just means is that you just got to be happy about working with it. I used to work with this old animator. This old animator guy, he was, he'd been in the industry before. He came over from 2D. He eventually made it over to 3D. And he'd been around the block a few times. And he was just kind of, well, I guess I'd say he's grumpy. He got the work done. And, when he was grumpy and he was kind of bitching and complaining and making his sarcastic comments, I actually kind of enjoyed being around him. But because he just wasn't a happy person, even though he got the job done, he was let go. That's one of those things, is the companies like their employees to be happy, and if you're not happy, they're gonna let you go. And the third one is that you gotta be fun to be around. This is about fitting in with the studio culture, and you've got to do this. In more than one occasion, I'm not going to name any names, but I did not agree, or I was not copacetic or totally aligned with the political view of the company I was at. Now, technically, they're not allowed to fire me, but they were able to lay me off with the excuse that they didn't have enough work for me. But the thing is, I was suspicious about that because, that's what they claimed. They sent me a formal notice. They said they didn't have enough work for me. They kept me busy until 8 o'clock that Friday night before I left. And regretfully, on Tuesday, the very Tuesday afterwards, I saw a job posting for my exact same job. What that means is, who knows? Maybe something came through, maybe they got another job on the day before. But needless to say, you've got to fit in with the culture of the company that you're working with. So that's why it's so important to interview the company that you're going to be working with and making sure that you're a good personal fit in with their environment. They kind of like hanging around you. They gotta like you being around. Okay, those are the 3 golden rules of being a tech artist. Okay. Now you've got to be autonomous. All tech artists have got to be autonomous. That means if a tech artist needs to be told what to do, they're not doing their job. Now, personally, this freaks me out, but I hate being told what to do. I suppose that's one of the reasons why I was a freelancer for so long, is because, really to say, I didn't like people telling me directions, and I suppose that's why I never went into the military services, because I hate being told what to do. Companies like for you to be able to just wind you up and point you in the general direction. The reason for that is that they really don't understand what the problems are. And honestly, they don't want to know what the problems are. They want you, as the tech artist, to be the specialist. They want to have you to know what they understand their symptoms. They understand, we've got blockages in our pipelines and our workflows. We don't know what's going on. Can you help us? So they're actually clueless about the problem, and all they understand are the symptoms. You, as the tech artist, have to go in and dive into the situation and figure out what's going on, go into their dirty laundry, figure out those problems, and then figure it out for them. Then they will appreciate it. Now, related to the whole autonomy issue is that as a tech artist, you gotta be proactive. Okay, now this is something that you have to anticipate when stuff isn't going wrong. In other words, you have to identify the problems before they happen. This is just part of what makes you a seasoned tech artist. You got to be looking for trouble, and you got to anticipate it, and you got to start making preparations for that trouble before it happens. Don't be a firefighter. This is one of the issues that I was told when I was working at a certain company. They had a terrible pipeline, and that was on fire 95% of the time. And that rest of that 5% of the time, I was taking a breather. But that was my mistake. I was told by my supervisor that I shouldn't be a firefighter. I needed to be Smokey the Bear. I needed to figure out what was happening before then. Regretfully, I was gone from the company before I really understood what that all meant. A couple years later, reflecting on it, I figured it out. But needless to say, identify those problems, be Smokey the Bear, put out those fires before they happen. So, likewise, so that kind of flows into this, don't wait to be told to be a superhero. Now, everyone is concerned about maintaining their swim lanes. Everyone is socially conscious. Everyone is worried about, okay, if they're going to step on anyone's toes. Okay, throw those fears aside. Guess what? You're going to step on their toes anyway. You're going to get out of your swim lane. They're going to do this, and you're going to upset people. You know what? It's part of your job, because they have no idea what to ask you as a tech artist, and they don't know that they can ask you. Did you know this? This is the problem with the industry, is that ignorance is rampant. Ignorance is everywhere, and just assume that ignorance is the controlling factor going on. Everything is. So don't be socially conscious. Don't be worried. So as soon as you recognize an opportunity to be a hero, just go for it. Just jump right in there, dive right in there, do this. Now, as I mentioned before, you are going to be going out of your swim lane. You are going to be stepping on toes. So therefore, you will be creating social faux pas. So, since that's the case, keep this in the back of your head at all times. It's better to ask for forgiveness than to ask for permission. Okay, this is what it comes down to. If you are doing your job as a tech artist, you are, by default, getting out of your swim lanes, you are stepping on people's toes, you are getting the job done. This is what you do. This is your job. And I promise you, if you keep this in the back of your head, continue to ask for forgiveness, they will give it to you. Do not ask for permission, because a confused mind always says no. And if the person you're talking to does not understand what you are proposing or what you want to do or even asking to do, even if it's going to save their hide, if they're confused in any sort of way, they're going to turn you down. So don't even wait for the permission. Just go and do it. They will forgive you. Be humble. Be be humble. Seek resolution. They will appreciate your foresight down the road. I promise you, they will understand it. And most likely, the reason why they would say no, or they are confused, is they just don't understand the situation. They just don't really get what's going on. And this is where you, as the tech artist, you are the person who understands the pipeline. You're the only person on the whole team that really understands how all the gears intermesh together. They don't understand that they can ask you, and that that's their job, and that's totally within your realm of doing. Just go ahead, get your forgiveness, and go and find the next fire, or go and smell for the next fire to go put it out. Okay, this last one that I wanted to go over today is probably the most painful, and it seems contrary to what I've been saying to you. But you have to limit your outrageous acts of being a hero. So as a tech artist, you're going to have a lot of opportunities of just doing some amazing, like, heroic type things. And a lot of that has to do is because you're the person who understands the pipeline. You're the who understands how all the gears and stuff are working together and how it all mixes together. A lot of times, however, you're going to be presented with a situation. It's the night before delivery, 8 o'clock rolls around, and then suddenly something breaks. Who knows how to fix it? The tech artist knows how to fix it. And they spend the next 5 hours fixing it. Now, it's not until 1 or 2 in the morning that something happens, that you're actually able to get out of the studio and you fix it. And you got to be back again at 7. And so therefore you've just committed an outrageous heroic act. Okay, these are great and they do happen, but do what you can to keep them to a minimum for 2 basic reasons. And these are very painful. If anything bad happens, anything at all happens, the last one holding the bag gets the blame. When I was in one particular studio, it was a terrible situation. I wasn't involved in the beginning of this project. I got pulled in 2 days before the project was supposed to deliver. I worked for 2 days straight fixing the problem. And luckily, they extended the project for 2 more weeks. To my dismay, I had to work 20-hour days for the next 2 weeks in order to get it done. Now, this is not the person's fault, and I'm not blaming them, and I'm just saying that these things happen. But regretfully, the managing producer was pregnant at the time, and they were going through their own personal hell, and they were about ready to deliver, and they were delivering this commercial, and they were getting threatened by the client. It was terrible. The studio was upset with them. I did the heroic act. I worked pretty much around the clock for 2.5 weeks straight. And as soon as the project was finished, I was reprimanded for being the reason why the project failed in the first place. Now, I could say that I wasn't, but it was the managing producer who made the accusation. They just didn't understand the situation. They didn't understand it. But once I said, the last person holding the bag is going to get the blame. So even if you create something outrageous in order to resolve the situation, be warned, keep it to a minimum. And there's another situation that I want to tell you about acting courageously, is that especially when I was first starting off in the industry, I was slower than everyone else. I was not as good as an artist as everyone. I would stay late every single day in order to get the work done. When everyone was leaving, between 6 and 7, I would stick around till 9 or 10 every single night in order to get all of my work done. No problems. Everyone was happy with my work until we were all requested to work late. That means everyone was working till 10, 11 o'clock at night. Guess what? I was just doing the amount of work that I was able to do. And because I wasn't able to extrapolate the amount of work by those extra hours, what they expected, I was just doing what I was normally doing anyway. But they expected a quantum leap in what I could produce. So they come to me, they say, what's your issues? You're underproducing. And here it was, I'm going, I'm doing the best that I can. They say, you're doing the best that you can, but we've given you these extended hours and you're not producing any more work. This is not a good thing. So needless to say, I was held accountable for that. Now, I never told them I was working those extra 3-4 hours a day in order to get my work done. And that was my fault. That was my learning experience, is that you've got to do what you can to communicate to the company is that if you're acting heroically and you're acting outrageously, you got to let them know about it. You can't be humble about it. You've got to share it. So as an alternative to acting out heroically, go ahead, and if you must do heroic, outrageous acts, don't be so humble. And if it requires any kind of personal sacrifice, make sure they know about it. The single greatest outrageous heroic act, wasn't by myself, no. It was by one of my technical artists in one of the projects I was working on. And this person worked the entire weekend in order to convert all of the shaders into the game to work with a very specific color space. Now, I was aware of what this tech artist did, and I was aware of the sacrifice that they were making. What this sacrifice did was this radically changed the output of the game. Suddenly, all of the shaders started to produce exactly what was expected. Never before had any game in the studio produced such good quality output. All the rest of the games immediately did what this person did and started changing their shaders over. But I knew what this tech artist did. I made sure that the company understood the personal sacrifice that they made, and they took credit for it, and so therefore it wasn't taken against them, and it wasn't taken for granted. So if you do something outrageous, don't be humble about it. Just casually or just humbly inform that personal sacrifice was made. The company will appreciate you for it in the long run. All right, that's all I wanted to cover today. I have more, so tune in next week for more Tech Art EDU. I've got a whole bunch of these. So if there are any more requests, or if you have any more comments, email me, Chris@TechArtEDU, and tell me what you think. Go ahead, maybe subscribe to my YouTube channel, or give me some love. Please give me a little bit of acquiescence that you are out there. And so let's share a little bit of love. And also, as a bonus, okay, we are doing another free live Houdini session today. And today's topic will be going over simple procedural foliage. And this is all part of the endeavor to kind of I've been teaching Houdini in the years before, and I'm going to continue teaching for it. And this whole COVID-19 thing has made us go online instead of teaching in the studio, so I'm going to continue teaching online. And so check into that YouTube channel if you want to see a free Houdini session about creating simple procedural foliage. All right, that's all I wanted to cover with you folks today. Thank you very much for coming today. Thank you very much for being part of your time, and I look forward to seeing you all again next week. All right, have a great week. We'll see you later.